Hello there, it's Miss Anne Marie again, and we are going to talk about playing with another toy. So another one of my very favorite toys to play with is Mr. Potato Head. Now this happens to be, she lost her head. This happens to be Mrs. Potato Head. So every type of potato head comes, sometimes they're themed, sometimes they come with a whole bunch of pieces for one potato head or a few pieces for multiple potato heads or a potato family. I will say that I'm a little bit more partial to one potato head that has a lot of different options so that you can give choices and it helps with learning. That being said, sometimes you have to make do with what you have. So in this situation, we have a Mrs. Potato Head. She is already done. And then we have another potato head who most of the pieces are going to be appropriate for a Mr. Potato Head. So again, if I'm going to bring this home, a kiddo is going to look at this and I'm going to kind of see how they're playing with it first. So what are they doing? It might be really hard, watch the child. If it's hard to just get the piece in, then you have to assess how hard you want to make that toy. So if I'm going to work on, let's say, those fine motor skills to get that nose in there, I'm not going to make everything hard. So if I know colors are hard, I might say, which nose do you want? Do you want pink or red? And you're giving them that information so that their work is truly in the motor skill of doing this. When you make them work for everything, just like all of us, it's just too complicated. So I like to really see how they're playing with it, and then you give them options. So you say, do you want a girl or a boy? Do you want to make a frozen potato head, or do you want to make a Spider-Man potato head? All of those things that you can be silly, because that's what's going to make it more interesting and fun for your child. So initially, you're going to watch them and you're going to take their lead. What seems to be hard for them? If it's just hard for them to figure out what to do with it, then you're going to want to role model how to play with it. So not making it challenging right at the beginning, but instead, if your child is here playing with this potato head, clearly doesn't have a picture of what am I supposed to do? This is pretty abstract from a child's eyes. So I'm just going to role model the play for that child. So I'm not going to tell them what to do. I'm not going to ask them things. I might just say, oh, wow, Mr. Potato Head is fun. He has blue shoes. I need eyes. Ooh, I like the black eyes. I bet he needs a hand. And that child may become interested in at least helping you look for where's a hand, where's an ear. You're going to have to really be aware of where that child is. And theoretically, this talk that you're doing is talking to yourself. So, I'm going to put a nose on. If you see that your child's having a hard time just with the skill of putting the nose in, then make it silly, make it fun, but also make it real. Make it like, this is hard. So you can try, this nose is so hard to get in. I'm getting frustrated. And you can try to pretend and then you figure, I have to push super hard to get this nose in. And sometimes that child will come and they'll start to help you. But they're going to be far more interested in engaging with that toy if, number one, you're modeling and showing them how to play with it, but they're not being required to play with it in that moment. So if you have a child who maybe is a little bit more developed and cognitively they know what all of these pieces are, or they've played with this toy before, then it just becomes, which hand do you want? Do you want the waving hand or the scrunchy hand? And you might pick words or sounds that child's having a hard time with. If you as a parent know that S's are really hard or L's are really hard, you might, this hand is a long hand. That word is hard to say, long. Be weary, be careful to not You're just modeling that. If they try to say it and they don't do a great job, wow, that was good trying. I like how hard you worked on your L. So you can do a few things like that just to kind of keep them encouraged. And then you can start doing things like colors. You can do things like boy, girl. You can do things like boots or heels. Most kids probably wouldn't know what heels are, but a girl who really likes princesses might. So think about giving 2 choices. That's going to make your child more engaged. The one thing I would typically do is once we start engaging in this toy and I'm able to kind of lead the play, the child knows how to play with it, I might take the pieces and just hide them down here. So they're not visually in front of them and they know we're going to have to kind of play with this together. If they give you the business, because sometimes they might, I might put out 2 pieces at a time so that at least they're having to engage with you and communicate with you. I want more pieces. You can do a lot of concepts like, wow, there's 2 shoes, but how many shoes are there? You can do concepts, colors, you can do numbers. How many pieces should I put out? 2 pieces? 1, 2. You can, again, do, this is a really beautiful fine motor toy because you can really work on the grip and the pushing. And you can always kind of take this piece and put a Mrs. Potato Head somewhere, and they have to go and find her. They can go, you can hide the pieces and they can go find the red nose. One thing that Mr. Potato Head, I really struggled keeping the pieces. And so what I would always do is try to have the child, when we're done, we're going to clean this up and we're going to pull the piece, because that's a nice skill that they're working on. And then we're going to put it here and close the door. That keeps the pieces inside Mr. Potato Head, but it also helps them work on some other kind of skills that are really nice for them to develop. So I hope that you enjoyed Mr. Potato Head. I'd love some comments so I can see if people are enjoying this, if there's toys they might, that you all, excuse me, might want to see. And again, I'm always going to reiterate that this is not if you have concerns about your child's development, you're concerned that they need some help, things like that, I always recommend early intervention. Contact your school district, contact your pediatrician if you have concerns that your child is behind. The purpose of this is to just help a parent engage with their child and find different ways to play with toys at different levels of their development. So I hope you've enjoyed today, and I'll see you again soon. Have a good one.